Um, Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, so much. If you're joining us this evening, it's 7 p.m. I'm very excited. I'm always excited because it's an opportunity to speak to somebody, somebody different and someone new who's in a position to be able to share some information with us and wisdom with us as everybody is kind of preparing to really get deep into the residency application process. We have our last RPD in our lineup for the series for this year. I'm so excited, and you guys have been excited too because you've sent me a bunch of questions that I really do hope we can get through all. Some of the questions like repeated themselves. It's like the same questions asked a different way. So I did sort through, and I promise you the responses will be appropriate for what your inquiries were. This is the postgraduate info series, and tonight we have Dr. Chandler Schexnayder from the VA Houston Hospital. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you so much, Sally. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love what you're doing with this series. I think it's helping a lot of people.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was telling you right before we went on that you're the second person where everybody's just like another young program director. We just need to know how they're ascending to these positions. So I think I want to start with you just sharing a little bit about yourself and perhaps your pharmacy journey and professional career with us so far.
For sure, for sure. So, a little bit about me. Hi, everyone. My name is Chandler. I'm originally from Patterson, Louisiana. You likely never heard of it, but it's a really small town, about an hour and a half southwest of New Orleans. And New Orleans is where I did my pharmacy school and undergraduate and pharmacy school career at the Xavier University of Louisiana, where I was like really molded into a servant leader. And I say that because that's basically the reason why I'm in this position today. But during that experience, I was a busybody. I did so much as a student, really too much during that time. But ultimately, my experiences led me to really being a person that was interested in patient care and ambulatory care specifically. I looked into different VAs when I was a P4 student because I knew that VAs had the opportunity for scope of practice, which is another form of prescriptive authority, where pharmacists, clinical pharmacist practitioners can practice at the greatest level and being able to impact patients throughout the nation, especially with our veterans. So that was an opportunity for me to look into a lot of different VAs and also other programs that had collaborative practice agreements. So fortunate to come here by the grace of God, my mentors, my coaches, and I was able to match with the Michael E. DeBakey VA Medical Center, which is VA Houston, where I am currently. And how did I get to this point? Is I worked hard. I really worked hard doing PGY 1 year. Definitely had some challenges, but also had a lot of triumphs during that time. I early committed for the PGY2 ambulatory care program. So we do the early commitment process here. And I was fortunate to be selected for that and went through the PGY2 program, which I really felt like was a year-long interview
Yeah.
because once I was done, I got hired on pretty fairly quickly into home-based primary care, which is my current practice setting, and which I've been in for the last three and a half years. So, like I said, I graduated from residency in 2019, and like I said, I started precepting. Uh, I was fortunate to, my first year of precepting, fortunate to win Precept of the Year that year. And I've always wanted to be involved with the residents because it felt so full circle to me because I was a resident and I knew I feel like I can identify with the residents and seeing how to impact them. But when the year after I was precept of the year, the RPD at the time asked me, if I wanted to be residency program coordinator. A lot of shifts in our pharmacy in our service at that time, and I jumped at the opportunity. And then, for that year, as being residency program coordinator, our RPD at the time wanted to pass over the reins to me. So it happened fairly quickly. I think a lot of it, was just the timing, to be honest. But also, I put myself in a position to try to excel as much as possible, but try to excel in being able to excel, help other residents excel, if that makes sense. So I think it all just came full circle for me, and just because of my experiences, I'm here today. But I wouldn't I wouldn't lie to you and say that, hey, it wasn't a shock to me in terms of getting at this point in 3 years, because I tell people all the time, when I was a P4, one of my in my letter of intent to go to different programs, I said I wanted to be a residency program director, and it's fast. It's so fast moving to get to this point. So that's how I got here. It was a lot of different transitions and just some experiences that I was able to come into.
Yeah, and it sounds like in addition to hard work, you just said yes. Like
Mhm.
you didn't turn away from any of the opportunities that presented themselves. I think that's one of like the biggest and most consistent advice through this entire series that's come across. It's just for prospective candidates or anybody who's, I think this is advice that's fitting for new practitioners as well, new grads, that it's it's okay to say yes, even if you feel like, ooh, these are some big shoes, but people are watching you and they see things and they believe in your potential. Like, you should not be so scared to take a chance. I think that that's so amazing that you've been able to accomplish all that there. Certainly, that puts you also in an amazing position to have a lot to offer residents, because when, like, if you describe, so I'm a resident on an interview at your program and you just tell me all that, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot that I can learn from this person. Like, forget the program on a whole, but this person could have a lot to offer me. I think that's so cool. So see, they were right to just be like, we want to know everything. That's a very they're like, another young director, we just need to know how. We just need to know everything. So I always think that that's so funny, because more than one person actually asked it. Um, the other question, some of the other questions they wanted to know was, what made you decide that becoming a director is what you wanted to do? I think you've touched on it a little bit already, but one of the questions was, what made you decide that you wanted to contribute in this way?
Yes, I believe that I've always been someone that enjoyed, and it may sound cliche, but I really enjoyed the not just helping people, but also the process of helping people, seeing them grow, seeing them change. Outside of being a residency program director, and before I was that, I'm also a coach with Pharmacy Initiative Leaders, nonprofit organization,
Yeah.
and I've coached multiple proteges to get to the spot of being in a residency and going on beyond that and making a great life for themselves and their families. So I've been a part of that process, and being in a residency program director spot. I think I get the very fortunate duty to be able to be a part of multiple people's process,
Yeah.
and being able to not only be a part of it, but orchestrate a lot of that process and get them connected with amazing people, with our preceptors who have impacted me. Now I look up to this day. There's a lot of preceptors that that have precepted me that are currently still precepting, and I know the greatness that they are able to offer to our residents. So I knew that I'm in this place where we have, I believe, the best preceptors. Period. I think that that's the great thing about where I'm at, is that you have people that are really dedicated to you. So that allowed me to be able to want to jump into this position. And I wanted to touch back on what you said before, is that you said the thing about saying yes, and I think that was really crucial for me, because there were a lot of times, and even times where as a young RPD, as a young preceptor, you feel like, oh, do I know enough? Am I experienced enough? And I do I belong in this position? But being able to have those affirmations and saying that you're qualified and understand that you're doing things to help people, I think definitely helps along the way. So overall, I would say that, yeah, that I really do enjoy the process of seeing someone grow from day zero to day 365. It's a beautiful thing for me.
That's amazing. And I love like that you're involved with as a coach, right? With the pharmacy. So talk to us a little bit about that. because I'm always surprised the student pharmacists, some of them don't know about it.
Hmm.
uh, but I have spoken to so many people that are involved with it. I absolutely love the work and respect so much of what's going on there, that you guys are able to touch and form these lifelong relationships and mentorship relationships with many of like the next generation of pharmacists. Um, and I like to look out for my P1s and P2s, my
Yeah,
P1s and P2s, and like plugging them in early so like they know all of what's available and what is possible with respect to building and being on the lookout for how they can build and develop their networks very early. If you could just talk to them or us a little bit about that program, I think that would be really awesome.
for sure. No, thank you for asking about it. So, like I said, I am currently the head of community at Pharmacy Initiative Leaders. Pharmacy Initiative Leaders is a nonprofit, like social enterprise that was created in 2016. And 2016 is when I was going through my P4 year. And, one of the founders, Dr. Brian Sackey, I'm not sure if you know him, but he's currently a psychopharmacologist at the San Antonio VA. He was actually my coach. And he helped me with my mock interviews, my CV, letter of intent, being able to really show me a strategic plan of how to get to the point that I wanted to be. And he was actually a previous resident at the Houston VA as well. So it was all strategic as well.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to do your research for sure. But that's the tip. And then also, I would say that, now that program grew for me being one of the first proteges in 2016 to where now we have, about 60 proteges right now. So it's continuing going, it's really growing a lot. And that we have multiple coaches from, different aspects. It's not only about residency, it's also pharma, so fellowship as well. So we have coaches from all sectors of pharmacy for entry level jobs, for fellowships, academic and pharmaceutical, as well as clinical residencies, managed care residencies, as well as administrative residencies. So we try to make sure that we have a strategic plan and a cohort and a community of people trying to help other people because we want our proteges to become coaches to help other people as well. So one a really great organization to look into, Pharmacy Initiative Leaders, also on LinkedIn. So tune into that. But also, I would also recommend organizations such as RX Excellence. I think Young Black Pharma, if you're interested in the pharmaceutical industry, as well as SNAFA, Student National Pharmaceutical Association, ACCP. So I would definitely look into these organizations that do provide a lot of resources and Resi Prep, right? So all those organizations definitely want to, be able to showcase. It really takes a lot of intention, being intentional with what you want to learn. Yeah.
100%. And I think, like, for me, what I find most exciting and fascinating is I remember when I was applying, my intention behind creating Resi Prep was very simple. When I was applying, I just wanted somebody, one who looked like me, who'd been through this, that could guide me. And I just couldn't find it. I just couldn't find it. I could not find it. And I had so much anxiety about how I show up on interview day, how authentic is authentic, like how much of myself, to now see, I think that growth in just the last 5 to less than 10 years, really, that there's so many organizations that are targeting this exact issue and helping develop young student pharmacists from very, very early. It's very exciting to me, and I love it. I love that there's so many of us out here that are looking for them. I just want them to know that we are out here and that they shouldn't, because there's so much hesitation on the students' parts to reach out. SNAFA, oh my God, what a transformative experience that was for me in finding a mentor there that literally worked with me for like 3 years and just prepping me. So I just, I you t- you brought it up, and I was like, no, like can we pause there for a second? Because I really want you to talk about that. So, like all of these young student pharmacists that are out there, they can find out, they can reach out because there's just so many people that are waiting to contribute and help. So don't be shy. Just hit them up. Um, Questions that came in about your program. I think you every time I ask you a question, you touch on the next question a little bit. So this is wonderful. The
That's
question
that interview prep.
that's the interview. That's the interview present. I know where we're going already, so let me just make it easy for you. There, one of the questions was, can you please tell us what if you had to identify one thing about your program that makes it unique, what it would be? You've mentioned about your wonderful preceptors already, but I'd like to give you a chance to elaborate on it more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I would say, since I already said preceptors, I'll name something else, and it
Mhm.
actually has something to do with the preceptors. But I believe we offer so many different broad experiences, and I say that to say that we have not only do we have as our PGY1 program broad, but we also like offer PGY2s in psychiatry, infectious diseases, and ambulatory care, which you have an opportunity to early commit. And when I say early commit, is being able to secure that position, prior to mid-year, and going through an application process. But
Mhm.
with that said, because of those PGY2s and because of our preceptors, we have so many different rotational experiences. So we have, I believe we basically have everything except for pediatrics, and that's
Yeah.
for obvious reasons because we're at the VA, right?
Yeah.
So we have academia. You can do an academia rotation. Like, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
plain. I
You
get
can do an
it.
academia rotation at U of H, University of Houston. Sorry. You can do anticoagulation, cardiology, critical care, surgery, transplant, home-based primary care, HIV, infectious diseases. We emergency medicine. We really have. I'm likely forgot some psychiatry, right? So we have so many different experiences that really help you decide what you want to do, but not only decide what you want to do, but get you that exposure to different people and to different patients. And
Yeah.
being able that's going to help you long term as well. I always tell people that, of course, I'm very more so on the ambulatory care side. I love ambulatory care. I love primary care. However, my favorite rotation, my P1 year, I mean, sorry, my PGY 1 year was inpatient psychiatry. And it really changed my entire outlook on mental health, on how I view people and how I operate as an adult. And it really changed my life, to be honest. So I always say that even though I'm not in psychiatry, that type of experience, my experiences in critical care, infectious diseases, all molded me into what I am today. And I think that really is a great spot for our great highlight for our PGY1 program.
Yes. So I think a lot of what you guys are hearing right now is variety. And a lot of the students I work with, it's like, I just don't know what program to pick. Okay. I can tell you that being well rounded will never, ever hurt. So going somewhere where there's an opportunity for you to see as unique and a mixture of different things as possible is only going to serve you in the long. Like I am a prime example of that. I am a PGY1 trained person that didn't do a PGY2. But that first year, like I did everything from specifics of bone marrow transplant and hemolytic malignancies to general core rotations like medical ICU and infectious diseases. And every time I've moved on, I've never had this fear in my heart like, oh God, I don't know anything about this. It's more like, okay, yeah, I know where to start and I can teach
Mhm.
myself and I can build my skills here. I can develop. And now, like, I'm in ambulatory care. I didn't do a PGY2 and running a practice that's very successful. And I'm really proud of what we're doing there. But I credit a well balanced and very, very well balanced schedule that PGY 1 year. So if you're going through and picking programs, you could be certain I was going to be the next best thing in critical care pharmacy. Nobody was going to tell me anything different. I wasn't going to hear it. I was going to be the number one emergency medicine, and then I went to my ID rotation and like completely fell in love there. Right. So it's just back to the point of like you could have transformative rotations and your path could still be different, but still be grateful for that. That's really good advice. And one of the questions that did come in was what is your opinion on residents being sure regarding their desire to do a PGY2? And if that's important, do they have to know what area they're interested in?
Yes, and I absolutely love what you just said about that, and that actually goes into what I'm about to say about that question. Is no, you do not have to be sure about a PGY2. Not only do you not have to be sure, you don't have to be sure about a PGY1, PGY2. You don't have to do a PGY2 as well. That is not my goal. My goal, as RPD, is to whatever you decide and whatever we help you in terms of help you experience,
Yeah.
whatever you decide, let's do it together.
Yeah.
So last year, for example, one of our PGY1 residents came in thinking that she wanted to do potentially a PGY2 in ambulatory care, but later on, because of her experiences, realized that I want to do internal medicine. I want to jump straight into the workforce, and I said, let's go for it. Let's do it. So we were able to
Yeah.
modify her rotation schedule to add, another internal medicine rotation, to add a surgery rotation to get some more acute care experience. And she secured a job, before graduating. And that's because that's a testament to her preceptors that helped push her along the way, her mentors, the program leadership. Like we really made sure that, okay, once she knew what she wanted to do, we were there to help her. So you do not have to know about if you want to do a PGY2. If you do want to do a PGY2, of course I support it, and it will help you get to that point as well. Is all about the next step, and not only the next step, but the process to get there. And we're all about that.
Yeah. So sounds like you guys are super invested in like whatever the residents' goals are. You're just there to help them build a plan to accomplish that. That's a huge point. I mean, a huge, huge strength in any program. Um, some of the other, one of the other questions, I feel like we may already know this. Will you be a mid-year?
Yes, we will be
Or
at mid-year Tuesday, 1 to 4. We will be there.
so Tuesday afternoon showcase, they will be there. Other questions, logistics, like the number of positions offered traditionally, how many of those positions, excuse me, the number of PGY1 positions offered on a typical year, how many of those do you roll over as early commit? Does it vary, or do you have a goal of how many you'll early commit and how many you'll leave open?
That's a great question, actually. But I'll start off by saying we're accepting and pursuing 5 PGY1 residents for next year. So be on the lookout for, well, the information is available to you already via our website and via the mid-year showcase informational website as well, and the ASHP residency directory. In terms of a goal for PGY2 early commit, I don't have any specific goal. Once again, it's back to what I said. It's really about what those particular residents do. But typically, I would say we oftentimes early commit. I would say, let me see if I can think about it. Maybe, like for example, last year we had 4 PGY1 residents and 2 of them early committed. So it can range from anywhere from 25 to 50%. And some years, all of them could early commit. It really varies. But I would say that it's typically at least every year, typically at least one person early commits for one of the programs. But we don't have I don't have a specific goal of early committing how many PGY1s, but I will say that our PGY2 programs love to have the opportunity to early commit because if you when you're training your residents and you enjoy being with them and you want to continue to train them, and that's our PGY2 programs love to early commit if possible. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and we don't fault the residents for not early committing.
Awesome. That's a great. I thank you for putting that out there. I tell you guys, when you're searching, that's a very important question. Do you early commit? You need to know that. If you have an Excel spreadsheet, you need to have a whole column that you need to
Yes.
tick for whether a program early commits or not, because I wouldn't wish like PPS and mid-year twice on anybody. Like just once is really enough. Like you can say, oh yeah, I did that and then move on, but not twice. So definitely be intentional about asking that question. Um, this other question, I was very interested, and I would love to hear your response to this as well. What is an interview day no no?
Wow. An interview day, no, no.
Is
That's a really good question.
it
It's a really
interview day?
good question.
Like I could think of a few, but they're like asking if you had one singular one. But I'm like, there are really more than one when it comes to this.
I know that's tough. That's very tough. Let me think about that one. So, an interview, no, no. I would say I always say this. I always say this for anytime you're interacting with a program is that for sure like whenever you're maybe done with a panel interview, right? So let me give you more feedback on that. Is that interviews for PGY1 programs are typically consist of different types of interviews. So like panel interviews where you have preceptors interview you. You may have an interview with the residents. You may have an interview with the RPDs, and you also, if it's on site, you may have a tour, but if not, you may have a presentation to be given, by the RPD or RPC. And you also have a case review or case presentation, right? I would say a big no would be to, let's say if you're virtual, making sure that you don't you actually wearing professional clothing and having a bright not an inappropriate background. I think that's
Mhm.
important, or having anything inappropriate around you, or having uh, you know maybe not just having a certain tie and having shorts on, because anything can happen. Anything
Any
can happen in that regard. So you definitely want to come dressed to impress as if you're there physically. Uh, I would say other no is that whenever you're done with the actual panel interview, like with the preceptors, and they ask if you have any questions, and you have like zero questions, I think that's always like a no. Like, well, does this person really want to be here? Is it kind of this on that point?
yeah.
There's probably so many more worse no nos I could probably think
Yeah.
of, but
There's
it's just some things you really want to be. You want to have high energy. You want to be engaged in throughout the interview. It is a long interview, so you can get fatigued. So try to be engaged as possible. Try to ask questions, not website questions. Try to ask questions that you really want to get an inside look or insight into the programs and things of that nature. So yeah, I think that's some of the things I would give you tips on. But definitely you want to showcase your professionalism, showcase your personality, and showcase why you're a dynamic individual as well.
absolutely, yeah. It's such a like every time it's like, what's an interview no no? I'm like, man, I
Just
have like 10 or 15. Like, there's,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things like I can tell you, just don't do that. Like, no matter what happens, like that shouldn't be part of the solution during an interview. Um, I am so grateful for this opportunity. Is it okay if they reach out to you with follow up questions? With 5 positions, I'm pretty sure that they're hitting you up like hard right now.
I am always open the questions. Please, you can email me at Chandler.Schexnayder. You can see my name, my long name up there, probably at va.gov. So Chandler.Schexnayder at va.gov. Or you can send me a message on LinkedIn as well. That is perfectly fine with me. I also want to invite you all, if you want to hear more information from me, the residents, preceptors, as well as some of the PGY2 programs, we have a virtual open house next Wednesday, actually, around at the same time, 6 p.m. Central
Okay,
Time or 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
okay,
The link is on my page.
okay.
So if you go there, you can register for the program. But we're going to do some introductions. We're going to do some breakout rooms. So it should be a really fun night to where you can ask even more questions as well. So you can spread the word. We're looking to recruit PGY 1s as well as PGY 2. So definitely spread the word, and looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday, November 9th at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, I will go look for the link and share it on my page and encourage students to go and engage with your program and speak to the residents. It's always great to hear directly from them, as well as if they're going to be preceptor there. That's like a bonus. That's like a bonus to engage with preceptors so early in the process. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for such an insightful session. And thank you so much for the opportunity to get to meet you, kind of. I will definitely look for you at mid-year, as I absolutely, by the grace of God, hopes to be there. And I'm so grateful, as always. There's so much going on right now as you're preparing and the prospective candidates are preparing. So, like, everybody's super busy. 30 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, I know what I can get done in 30 minutes. So I'm just like, I'm very appreciative of you taking the time. And this is just the first of what I hope is many. And I look forward to meeting you in December.
Awesome, awesome, and the same to you. And what an awesome job you're doing right now with this series and Resi Prep. So congratulations to you as well. And it was an honor to meet and talk with you today. And thank you everyone that joined in today. I hope that this was beneficial to you, and I look forward to connecting with you as well. Y'all have a great
Yeah.
one.
You too. Have a good evening, everybody. See you guys. Bye bye.